Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Joseph Magnus Batch 110. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dustin, this one comes in at 57.81% ABV. Specific.
Yeah, they got an extra decimal place for us.
Yes, so...
I'm going to handwrite it.
What can you tell us about this one?
So, Mike, with these cigar blends, my understanding is Nancy starts with what she kind of calls like a master batch or something along those lines. I want to call it the mother load. And then she divvies that out and she starts, having these individual Armagnac casks that finish the whiskey. So I believe batch 99 through 110 are all part of the same kind of mother batch. And this is the first time, Mike, we've ever gotten notes from Nancy Fraley where age is not mentioned.
That means young, doesn't it?
That usually means young, and that usually means something's awry. Speaking of, I have on good authority that this is predominantly MGP 36% rye, which also tells me something's up because the 36% MGP rye being old, that's hard to get these days.
Yeah, just not easy in the whiskey industry these days. It's so popular, the bourbons, the scotches. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's on this side of the pond or the other. Everyone's running out of old stock.
Yeah.
We do what we can. From their perspective, I get it.
Unfortunately, I'd like a little more disclosure. Either here or on the notes, and we got it in either place.
Yeah, I've always said, just tell me what the whiskey is. Yeah. I bought Octomores that were 5 years old, bought Cavalans that were 4 years old. Love those whiskeys. So I'm not going to necessarily be turned off by a young age. I'm going to give it a shot.
Oh. And I can just, first thing I got on the notes here, Mike, I can tell the Armagnac cask they're finishing these in, the quality is not going down. This has a beautiful note from that Armagnac. Spicy oak.
Yeah, spicy.
Fall leaves.
Spicy sweet oak. Autumn leaf dropping, absolutely.
Yeah.
Walking through the disc bark.
Dirty, over the top cinnamon, like really intense.
It is spicy, but it's a pretty rich spice.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't make it makes it feel a little bit heavy, but not as quite as tingly or popping as maybe some of their earlier batches.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so much of I'm not getting a cigar smoke here with that smoke. It's more...
I'm getting some type of tobacco leaf-ish smoke.
There's definitely some tobacco notes here for sure, but man, that spice is intense. I mean, it's got to be coming from the combination of that MGP rye and that Armagnac cask. Very intense.
I think they both added two different types of spice. It's not just that it's spicy, it's like two levels of spice. Which, me, I'm usually sensitive to spice. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying it in this.
No, well, that's good.
Glad you approve.
I'm just happy.
There's almost like the spices, it's something unique. It's like a charred spice almost.
I mean, it's almost like burnt cinnamon.
It's almost like, it's some type of spice
it's intense.
Like charcoal in it. Like after you've already burnt the charcoal, after it's been, brought down to a little bit of ash. It's
I can see that.
This one's a little tricky.
I even get a note that, almost makes me think of if you took a potato soup, Mike, and you just put way the heck too much salt on it, and then you kind of I don't know, but it's after the spice, if I just keep digging in deeper, just past it, there's this, it's savory, it's almost salty, but it's not quite. I don't know, I'm struggling here to come up with the right terms here. I will tell you this, as I dig in more and more, I am nosing 6 or 7 year old MGP distinctly on this. I mean, it could be 5, it could be 8, but it's coming off in that 6, 7 that I'm used to nosing on. A lot of bourbons right now, that's what they're putting out.
It's sashaying a little bit of chocolate now. A little bit of spice charred chocolate. I mean, the spice is definitely the show here, though.
Oh, I'm even getting some nice rich, dark fall apples, apple cider kind of note.
Yeah, you could say cinnamon spiced apple.
Yeah, but that char, it's almost is it 80% salt, 20% pepper, over cinnamon? I don't know.
Yeah, at some points during this experience, I was almost thinking to myself Talisker pepper.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm not thinking. It's funny. I keep mentioning salt, but it's not salty seawater or something.
When you said sodium earlier, there was something that kind of triggered my thought process of there's some type of Campbell's made like this bacon and potato chunky soup.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, like cooking that, like it almost feels like that again. That Campbell's like bacon and tomato soup.
Yeah, or I mean, like a really rich kind of soup broth.
Because you know they load that with sodium.
Oh yeah, dude, it's 3 times your daily needs of sodium.
Yeah, 5 times as much salt as you need in a day. This is not. This is a challenging nose for sure.
And I gotta say, I mean, I'm worried about the age, but on the nose, they've still got a really rich, really complex whiskey here. The ABV is definitely big, but it's not coming off unpleasant. They've definitely masked any kind of like youthful, sharp alcohol notes here, because we're going right in here, guys, digging deep and not having any negative response. Where a lot of cask strength bourbon will send you back after a few.
Spice, chocolate. Sweetness is more than I thought, but I tell you what, man, that spice note is big on the palate and initially on the finish. But then a lovely chocolate comes in right behind it, just to extinguish all the spice.
Whew. Okay, that's hitting hard.
Yeah, it is. You can really taste that rye. Nice little mint here on the end. Now, I didn't get mint at all on the nose whatsoever. Maybe a tad bit of tobacco. I'm not getting any tobacco on the palate, but I am getting the mint. And then again, I was saying some type of a dirtier chocolate here, just on the long finish. Thoughts?
I'm not getting mint at all here.
Really?
None, no.
Fish?
I am getting, I mean, there might be an effervescence you could kind of start to call that, but no, I'm not getting mint. Big, bold, incredibly spicy up front. Transitions into like a sweet and then spicy element. Up front, I'm distinctly picking up some youthful bourbon notes. I'm not picking up the depth on the finish I would expect from older whiskey. I mean, it scares me that there may be very little older whiskey here.
It's very punchy.
Very punchy.
No mint, huh?
No. I'll go back in for another round, man. Well,
yeah, I agree with everything else you said. On the palate for sure. Very, very punchy whiskey. Almost comes off like a 10-year-old Islay whiskey. You know what I mean for what it is. I tell you what, though, the double spice note, like from the rye and what I would imagine from a charred cask, like that double hit of spice is just not only hard to unravel, but it's just relentless on the nose.
This has gotten spicier than I remember, Mike. When I first opened this,
Relentless.
I got a lot more light fruits. It was much lighter in character. As it's opened up, and I mean, I know it's not super low here, but I've had this. It's been sitting here for what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I think I'd had this for at least for a month before I brought it over here. It's really darkened. It's gotten spicier. It's given me some second thoughts on how to score and review this one, to be honest with you, which is a good thing.
All right, so with a little bit of water, a lot of the same things, but I can really pick up the spiced cinnamon apple at this point, and maybe just at some point a dirty cherry. There's something earthy about it. Maybe it was stepped on. Had a ferret fell off someone's banana split. Treated terribly.
It's just giving me a really nice, spicy, oaky, just very consistent, mellow thing right now. I'm really liking that.
You can't get away from the spice, though.
Oh, well, the spice is here, but it doesn't spike hard and then kind of go down. The spike hard again. It's just very easy, mellow.
Drown in the whole situation.
I'm actually going to put a little more water on this one. I don't usually go in for double water, but here I'm looking for a couple notes I want to get to.
It's a good ABV.
Yes, I love this ABV.
Now, with that ABV, you would think it would be 8, 9-year-old, 10, maybe 10-year-old whiskey, wouldn't you?
Well, with bourbon, I mean, because your age, it actually should gain ABV as it ages.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what was it again? 57, 81?
Well, I mean, they're not putting 4-year whiskey in here for sure. I don't think that's the case. But, I mean, it's... And, some people really enjoy that 6-7-year MGP. I find MGP is unpleasant at those ages unless you just get some stellar barrels. And I don't believe this is that.
Maybe a little bit of dry hay now here finally on the end. If I'm struggling to try to pick up more descriptors.
Sometimes those oak notes give way to that kind of barnyard hay thing. I think that's definitely reasonable. And MGP kind of can give you that too. I'm not getting any of what I'm assuming is Barton bourbon mixed in here. Okay. Now that I've brought it down, I am getting the lighter fruits, the lighter notes here. But man, it's kicking hard. Every now and then, I mean, it keeps hitting me hard and giving me a little bit of Kentucky hug, as they call it.
Ooh.
That's got to be the spice at this point because I had put a lot of water in here.
It is so spicy.
Super spicy, young for sure compared to the old ones. Doesn't have that depth and richness. Doesn't just have that lingering old whiskey note. It's just killing me here because that's what made Cigar Blend so perfect in the past was a combination of old whiskey with this incredible cask that Nancy Fraley is sourcing, and then just beautifully put together. This is beautifully put together. I just think the parts that went in weren't nearly on par.
Yeah, so part of my issue with this is not what the previous offerings have been. Honestly, I don't know if you didn't call it, Cigar Blend. I would think to myself, well, just spicy bourbon. It's interesting. You know what I mean?
Well, if you said Cigar Blend, I would just assume it's not Joseph Magnus. I would think, some new guy's doing a Cigar Blend. Younger whiskey.
Too. Yeah,
you know what? Because I'm getting that spiciness that you expect in a Cigar Blend. I could definitely pick up a little bit of tobacco. I mean, it's not the front and center here, but yeah, I mean, if you call this a Cigar Blend, I would say, this would. The problem is this is going to overpower 99% of cigars ever made.
Yeah, this is spice. All right, so what are you at as far as a whiskey score on this one?
I am really struggling on this one, Mike, because there's a lot of good stuff here. So I'm going to give it an extra point higher than I was thinking, and I'm just going to give it an 86. I really want to give it an 85, but I think the Armagnac cask is doing enough to justify me going that extra point. But man, I'm being nice.
Yeah, I was thinking 84, 85.
You might be right.
Yeah, so this is not my favorite version of this whiskey, which that happens. I'm not a huge guy as far as spice in general. Mm-hmm. Although the spice isn't terrible. I mean, I'm not. It's not a huge turnoff, but it's a lot. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's consistent. I would say it's just this high all the time. You know what I mean? It's just
if the whiskey underlying this was better, the spice would be less dominant.
Yeah, or noticeable, or you wouldn't pay as much attention to it. But yeah, other than the spice, there's not a ton going on here. For the most part. Hate to be harsh.
You know what? I'm going 85. I'm bringing it down. I was trying to be nice, but it's 85. Man, I hate giving that score.
It is what it is.
So guys, these are 160, 180 retail. They're going for close to 300 secondary, and a lot of stores are charging that, and that's what I paid. So one of my worst buys of 2022. Not that it's the worst whiskey I've had by any stretch, but definitely a bad buy.
It's a financial commitment. You can get a lot of good whiskeys for $300.
Yeah.
Especially scotches these days.
This is not a good one.
Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular version of the Cigar Blend Joseph Magnus. If you guys had a chance to try this one, batch 110, let us know what you guys think. And until next time, Dustin, what do we wish the folks?
Drink better.
See you next time.